That suppressor you bought last year already cost you $200 you didn't have to spend. Here's the problem nobody in the hunting world caught up on yet. The federal tax that used to gatekeep every can in America just dropped to zero, and the manufacturers didn't wait around to notice. Titanium replaced steel. 3D printing replaced the lathe. 7 ounces replaced 22. Today we're counting down 7 suppressors built for this new era. The ones actually worth strapping to your barrel. Number 1 on this list is going to change which caliber you hunt with completely. At number 7, the HUXWRX FLOW 762 Ti. Here is the deal. If you run a bolt-action rifle built for long-range hunting, a traditional baffle stack suppressor is going to feel like silk. Predictable, reliable, minimal noise signature. But the moment you strap a conventional can onto an AR-10 or AR-15, everything changes. Those suppressors hold gas inside the chamber. Pressure builds. Hot air flows backward, straight through the bolt carrier group, fouling your action in real time, speeding up your cycling rate, and forcing unpleasant fumes directly into your face. For semi-auto hunters running .308 Winchester or 6.5 Creedmoor through a piston-driven platform, this back pressure isn't an annoyance. It's a reliability crisis. HUXWRX solved this with flow-through technology, a patented architecture that does something radical. It channels expanding gases forward through internal spirals and deflectors, then vents them out the muzzle end rather than trapping them. The effect resembles watching a pressure cooker suddenly find a release valve. The same destructive force redirected harmlessly outward instead of backward into the gun. Built entirely through 3D metal sintering from titanium grade 5 via direct metal laser sintering, the FLOW 762 Ti is engineered to run reliably on full auto fire and has passed 6 full-cycle SOCOM stress tests without hesitation. At 11.8 ounces and 6.7 inches, it's the heaviest option on this countdown. Price sits at $1,624, making it the most expensive suppressor here and roughly 20% more than the Scythe Ti. The Torque Lock Quick Detach system provides solid repeatability, but adds weight and complexity compared to direct thread rivals. Here is the flaw. This suppressor solves a problem most hunters will never face. If you are running a bolt-action rifle, which is statistically what 90% of serious backcountry hunters carry, you will never benefit from flow-through technology. You will pay a premium for an architecture designed for semi-auto AR platforms. The trade-off between the light, simple bolt gun options and this specialized piston bleed can is enormous. That said, for the dedicated AR platform hunter pursuing hogs, coyotes, or eastern whitetail over public land, FLOW 762 Ti is without peer. It achieves genuine hearing-safe suppression, roughly 33 decibels of attenuation across the spectrum, while keeping your rifle running clean and your shooter experience free from gassy blowback that ruins follow-up accuracy. It does not demand any adjustments to your gas system or buffer weight. It simply works, cycle after cycle. The Ruger American, the Mossberg Patriot, the Seekins Precision Long-Range Platform. They will all function flawlessly with this can threaded on. For the subset of hunters who have committed to semi-auto rifles as their primary harvesting tool, FLOW 762 Ti is the only can worth considering. Modularity sounds great in theory. 1 suppressor, 2 configurations, infinite flexibility. The dream of the multi-rifle hunter who refuses to commit to a single platform. BANISH 30 V2 attempts to deliver exactly that promise. You purchase the short body at 6.4 inches, 8 internal baffles, and 9.5 ounces. Then you can thread on an extended section, pushing total length to 8.17 inches with 11 baffles and a total package weight of 12.4 ounces. A hunter closing range on elk in thick timber can run short and light. That same hunter moving to a glassing perch for a long-range stalk can unthread the front section and screw on the extension, gaining decibel reduction and smoothness at the cost of a few ounces and inches. The architecture is CNC machined from solid titanium and uses the industry-standard HUB 1.375 by 24 threading, meaning you can swap mounts freely between other cans if needed. Sound reduction across configurations is genuinely impressive. In long mode on a .300 Weatherby Magnum, the V2 achieves 34.5 decibels of attenuation, pushing the signature down to hearing-safe ranges even for Magnum velocities. The Can Clean system, allowing full user disassembly of baffles for manual cleaning, is a godsend for hunters running lead-cast or rimfire ammunition that gums up the stack with carbon and lead deposits. Here is the flaw, and it is structural. The long configuration weighs 12.4 ounces, making it significantly heavier than standalone options on this list. The Scythe Ti at 7.3 ounces outweighs the V2 Short by only 2 ounces, yet offers superior decibel ratings, an integrated anchor brake for recoil management, and zero mechanical complexity. You are paying for modularity in the form of mass and mechanical tolerance stack-up. Every threaded interface where the front section couples to the main body is a potential failure point, a source of creep, a place where carbon can lock components together under extreme heat cycling. For a hunter who genuinely owns 3 different rifles spanning rimfire to Magnum and who actually rotates suppressors between platforms rather than buying platform-specific cans, the 30V2 makes sense. The Can Clean feature alone justifies the purchase for anyone running a .22 LR or .17 HMR alongside centerfire hunting rifles. But if you already know your primary rifle, say a .300 Winchester Magnum bolt gun, you will find lighter, simpler, cheaper options that give you better sound signature, without the weight penalty of carrying around a modular system you rarely reconfigure. The 30V2 is a compromise gun, and compromise guns rarely excel. At number 5, the Dead Air RXD30Ti. Dead Air Silencers and Ruger announced a collaboration in late 2025 aimed at producing a suppressor that would integrate seamlessly with Ruger's American Gen 2 bolt-action platform, while remaining platform agnostic enough to thread onto any rifle with a 5/8 by 24 direct thread brake. RXD30Ti is the result, a hybrid design that borrows the best geometry from 2 of Dead Air's most successful suppressors. The internal baffle stack combines Triskelion technology, which uses asymmetrical wedge deflectors to interrupt gas flow at extreme angles, alongside Nomad geometry, which nests stacked baffles in a traditional chamber arrangement. The marriage of these 2 divergent approaches creates something that resembles watching a chess player move pieces forward and backward simultaneously. Orderly complexity that sounds simple in operation. At 9.9 ounces and 7.34 inches, RXD30Ti splits the difference between ultralight and traditional weight. The price tag of $1,099 lands squarely in the middle of this countdown, undercutting the MeatEater and Flow 762 Ti, while remaining above the Backcountry and Scythe Ti. Sound attenuation across the spectrum is excellent. The hybrid baffle geometry delivers 32 decibels of noise reduction on .308 Winchester, pushing hearing-safe signature to the low 135s. The device handles everything from 5.56 NATO up through the 300 precision rifle cartridge without hesitation. The direct thread 5/8 by 24 connection uses a stainless steel brake coated in nitride to prevent galling and corrosion, a thoughtful engineering detail that prevents the frustration of suppressor devices locking permanently onto rifle barrels. Here is the flaw. RXD30Ti is a generalist, competing in a field of specialists. The Scythe Ti is lighter, the Nomad TIOTB is longer, and handles extreme recoil magnums with superior blast deflection. The BANISH Backcountry costs less and weighs nearly the same. The Flow 762 Ti owns the semi-auto niche completely. RXD30Ti does not dominate any single category: weight, price, sound reduction, or specialized use case. It is competent across all axes and exceptional at none. Additionally, The heavy Ruger marketing positioning obscures the fact that this suppressor will thread onto a Remington, a Tikka, a Christensen Arms platform just as easily. If you own a Ruger American, the integrated design tuning feels meaningful. If you own anything else, you are paying for marketing accommodation rather than tangible performance gain. That said, for the hunter who refuses to choose between calibers and platforms, who runs a .308 rifle one month and a 6.5 Creedmoor the next, RXD30Ti operates as a reliable default option. It will not embarrass you on any rifle. It will suppress hearing damage. It will hold point of impact shifts to a minimum. The hybrid geometry means you get the best defensive characteristics of two proven systems in one package. For the pragmatist who wants solid performance without obsessing over minute weight savings or extreme specialization, RXD30Ti delivers genuine value at a reasonable price. At number 4, the BANISH MeatEater. Silencer Central partnered directly with the MeatEater brand, a hunting media and outfitter operation with genuine credibility in Western big game circles, to design a suppressor built around one obsession: its recoil reduction on Magnum rifles. The philosophy underlying MeatEater is ruthlessly focused. A hunter carrying a .300 Remington Ultra Magnum across 10 miles of steep terrain makes a single ethical shot at a distance where flinch or recoil-induced flinch means missing the vitals. Every ounce of recoil management that keeps the crosshairs stable through the shot means the difference between a clean harvest and a wounded animal running into the high country. MeatEater addresses this through an adjustable anchor brake mounted at the muzzle, a passive force redirection device that captures forward-moving blast gases and reorients them perpendicular to the barrel axis, transforming what would be straight recoil energy into sideways deflection. By opening the brake fully, you sacrifice roughly 4 decibels of sound suppression, but gain up to 40% perceived recoil reduction. Close the brake, and you recover those decibels while accepting roughly 30% recoil mitigation, a conscious trade-off the shooter controls with finger positions. Constructed entirely from titanium and weighing 10.3 ounces across 5.85 inches, MeatEater sits heavier than the Backcountry and Scythe Ti, but remains light enough for serious backcountry use. The muzzle cap uses interchangeable inserts tuned for .30 and 6.5 calibers, meaning a single suppressor body can be optimized for different bore sizes without purchasing separate cans. Decibel reduction lands at 32 decibels across the Magnum spectrum, respectable but not extraordinary compared to the Scythe Ti's superior 34 decibel floor. The price point is $1,449, making it the most expensive suppressor in the standard titanium range, and roughly $350 more than the RXD30Ti, despite offering no acoustic advantage. Here is the flaw, and it cuts deep. You are paying a premium for recoil reduction technology designed to solve a problem that most serious hunters have already managed through technique and rifle selection. A hunter who understands breathing mechanics, trigger control, and natural point of aim does not need 40% recoil compensation. They need a lighter, shorter suppressor that minimizes muzzle rise through superior barrel harmonics management. The adjustable brake mechanism, while clever, adds moving parts, potential points of carbon locking, and complexity that dedicated long-range hunters typically reject in favor of simplicity. Where MeatEater truly excels is in the hands of a novice or intermediate shooter who struggles with recoil management on large caliber rifles. A beginning hunter moving up from .308 to .300 Weatherby Magnum will feel the recoil reduction immediately, and that reduced flinch will translate directly into better accuracy on the first shot that matters. For the dedicated rifleman who has already mastered their platform through thousands of rounds downrange, MeatEater feels like over-engineering a solution to a problem they have already solved. If recoil management is genuinely your limiting factor, MeatEater delivers. If weight savings and simplicity are your priority, the Scythe Ti and Backcountry will serve you better across the hunting year. At number 3, the Dead Air Nomad Ti over barrel. Dead Air silencers resurrected an old concept and perfected it. The overbarrel design, where the suppressor wraps backward around the barrel instead of extending forward from the muzzle, was abandoned decades ago by the tactical community because it demanded precision machining and thermal stability nobody could reliably produce. Modern 3D metal sintering changed everything. The Nomad TiO-TB uses direct metal laser sintering to build the entire assembly from titanium 6Al4V grade 5, including an internal blast chamber that envelops barrels up to 1 inch in diameter. Imagine threading a suppressor onto a barrel like a sleeve. The can sits coaxial with the bore, hugging it completely. The effect resembles wearing a custom glove fitted precisely to your hand rather than a generic gauntlet that slides over anything. This architecture allows the designers to create an internal volume that would normally require a suppressor 7 or 8 inches long projecting forward. Instead, that same volume wraps backward and around, adding only 4.6 inches to the total rifle length, despite the can's actual length being 7.65 inches. For a hunter carrying a Magnum rifle with a 24-inch barrel through dense forest, brush, or a blind, the difference between 30 inches overall and 28.6 inches overall is profound. That extra 1.5 inches of maneuverability translates directly into the ability to swing on game in tight quarters without the muzzle device snagging on branches or blind framework. The Nomad TiO-TB weighs 10.5 ounces and handles Magnum cartridges generating over 4,400 foot-pounds of muzzle energy without hesitation. .300 RUM, 7mm backcountry, anything in that extreme territory. The proprietary Xeno radial brake mounting system provides rock-solid repeatability and eliminates the carbon locking phenomenon that plague older quick-detach systems. Sound reduction is exceptional, reaching an estimated 33 to 35 decibels across the Magnum spectrum due to the expanded internal volume and optimized baffle geometry. The price sits at $1,049, the lowest entry point for a titanium full-length suppressor in this entire countdown. Here is the flaw. The over-barrel design creates a microclimate around the barrel that demands strict operational awareness. Uneven barrel heating under rapid fire can create radial stress on the titanium wrap, and repeated thermal cycling over years of use may eventually produce point-of-impact shifts, or, in extreme cases, micro-cracking at stress concentration points. The Xeno mounting system, while excellent, is proprietary. You cannot swap a Nomad TiO-TB onto a different rifle and expect the same performance. Additionally, the over-the-barrel aesthetic appears unconventional to hunters raised on forward-extending suppressors, and some traditionalists reflexively distrust the architectural departure from what they know. That said, for the dedicated backcountry hunter pursuing elk or mule deer in dense timber, where rifle maneuverability is survival, the Nomad TiO-TB is a quantum leap forward in suppressor engineering. It delivers Magnum-capable sound reduction without forcing you to haul a 30-inch rifle through the brush. The performance per inch calculation is unmatched. If you can accept a proprietary mounting interface and commit to one rifle, Nomad TiO-TB is the architecture that future suppressor design will follow. At number 2, the BANISH Backcountry. Backcountry is the suppressor that keeps you awake at night, wondering if you made the right choice going with anything else. Silencer Central engineered this device around a singular principle. Weight penalty should approach 0, and every component should earn its place through acoustic necessity rather than marketing convenience. The result resembles watching a Swiss watchmaker eliminate every unnecessary wheel and spring until only the essential escapement remains. Backcountry uses a 6-baffle internal stack machined from solid titanium and delivers 30 decibels of sound attenuation. Not the loudest on this list, but sufficient to push a .308 Winchester signature down to 135 decibels, safely under the OSHA hearing damage threshold. On a .300 RUM, the signature lands at 138 decibels, still hearing safe and still achieving 40% perceived recoil reduction through purely passive baffle geometry optimization. The weight is 7.8 ounces. The length is 5.5 inches. The price is $1,099. Let those numbers sink in. The The Scythe Ti, sitting at rank 1, weighs 7.3 ounces. A half-ounce difference, nearly undetectable in a shooting pack. The Scythe Ti costs $1,174, $75 more. The Backcountry uses the industry-standard HUB 1.375 by 24 threading, granting complete mount compatibility with any rifle already outfitted for that standard. It can handle any barrel length without restriction across the Magnum spectrum. In field testing, Backcountry delivered recoil reduction comparable to options costing $300 more. The acoustic floor on Magnum cartridges rivals Suppressors twice its weight. Here is the flaw, and it is architectural rather than operational. Backcountry lacks an integrated anchor brake. The Scythe Ti's anchor brake is a passive secondary system built into the front cap that actively redirects forward-flowing gases at the moment they exit the muzzle, providing additional recoil control beyond what the baffle stack alone delivers. Backcountry relies exclusively on baffle deflection for recoil management. The difference in practical terms is roughly 5% of perceived recoil reduction, imperceptible to most shooters, but measurable on instruments, and meaningful to someone who has fired thousands of rounds behind both suppressors back-to-back. Additionally, the Scythe Ti incorporates Grade 9 titanium alongside Grade 5 in its construction, allowing Dead Air engineers to use slightly thinner material in stress concentration zones while maintaining identical durability. Backcountry uses single alloy Grade 5 throughout, requiring marginally more material in the same footprint. These are not flaws. They are design choices reflecting different engineering philosophies. Backcountry is the minimalist's answer. Scythe Ti is the technical maximalist's. For the hunter who values simplicity, direct thread mounting, and proven acoustic performance without paying for integrated brake technology, Backcountry is indistinguishable from the Crown. For the hunter who wants everything squeezed into the lightest possible platform, including passive recoil management you may never consciously notice, Scythe Ti edges ahead by a half ounce and a fading memory of what recoil felt like. At number 1, the SilencerCo Scythe Ti. SilencerCo Scythe Ti represents the technical crescendo of this entire category. It is the first suppressor SilencerCo ever constructed entirely from titanium, combining both Grade 5 and Grade 9 alloys in deliberate architectural placement. And it accomplishes something that feels contradictory. It is simultaneously the lightest full-length .30 suppressor on the market and the one equipped with the most sophisticated recoil management technology. That integration of minimalism and active performance engineering is not accidental. It is the result of years of metallurgical iteration, finite element analysis of baffle stress distribution, and the willingness to machine internal geometry so precisely that only 3D laser sintering could have made it possible a decade ago. Weighing precisely 7.3 ounces at 6.16 inches in length, Scythe Ti undercuts even the Backcountry by a half ounce while delivering superior acoustic performance across the Magnum spectrum. On .308, Winchester. The measured signature is 132.6 decibels. On .300 Winchester Magnum, it is 137.2 decibels. These numbers sit at the ceiling of what modern suppressor engineering can achieve without significantly increasing volume or mass. The secret lies in the anchor brake, a single-port muzzle device integrated directly into the front cap assembly, which uses the expanding gases themselves to actively redirect recoil forces perpendicular to the bore axis rather than allowing them to push straight backward. The brakes on the MeatEater and Nomad TIOTB are aftermarket additions bolted onto conventional suppressor bodies. The Scythe Ti's brake is foundational to the design. It is as though the entire suppressor was engineered around the brake, rather than the brake being grafted onto a suppressor. The effect resembles the difference between a racing chassis designed from first principle around a specific engine versus a generic frame with a performance motor dropped in. Everything communicates. Scythe Ti handles cartridges without limitation. .300 RUM, 7mm Remington Ultra Magnum. Any Magnum in the dangerous game territory. The suppressor functions identically across them all with zero consideration for barrel length restriction. The mounting system uses the industry-standard HUB 1.375 by 24 direct thread interface, meaning you can swap muzzle brakes freely or thread it onto any rifle with existing HUB compatibility. Here is the honest assessment. Scythe Ti has no genuine flaw. It is an exceptional tool. The anchor brake adds roughly $10 to manufacturing cost compared to a conventional baffle cap, a nearly negligible expense that separates this suppressor from everything below it in this countdown. If forced to manufacture a criticism, one could argue that the grade 9 titanium in the stress zones, while superior for durability, is marginally more difficult to machine than single alloy grade 5, creating a microscopic production time penalty and therefore a theoretical cost burden. This is not a flaw in the product. This is an observation that the manufacturer chose performance over manufacturing convenience. Scythe Ti beats Backcountry explicitly and measurably on two axes: integrated anchor brake technology and acoustic performance on large-capacity Magnum cartridges. Backcountry is the aesthetics choice, eliminating every system not acoustically necessary. Scythe Ti is the engineer's choice, keeping every component that measurably improves performance and then integrating them so elegantly that the weight penalty approaches zero. Rank 2 sits 1/2 ounce heavier and $75 cheaper, solving the same problem through deletion rather than optimization. The Nomad TIOTB offers architectural innovation for specific use cases. Tight quarters where overall rifle length becomes a survival factor. Scythe Ti offers universal excellence across every hunting application. The MeatEater prioritizes recoil reduction for shooters still learning their platform. Scythe Ti assumes competence and rewards it with the lightest, most versatile, most acoustically transparent suppressor in this entire field. This is the era of suppressor design where weight no longer demands acoustic compromise, where integrated systems outperform bolted-on attachments, where titanium alloy selection determines performance margins rather than manufacturing material. The Scythe Ti is the rifle suppressor that this 2026 tax-free epoch was waiting to produce. Every hunter in this countdown found excellence. Only one found mastery. Lock it in. 2026 is the year suppressor technology stopped being gatekept by federal taxation. 7 ounces of titanium, engineered with laser precision, now costs exactly what an inferior stainless steel can cost a decade ago. The Scythe Ti proves that weight and acoustic excellence are no longer opposing forces. They are the direct result of uncompromised design. You no longer choose between light or quiet or tough. You choose all three. Every hunter in this countdown found a legitimate tool, but only one represents what becomes possible when engineering excellence meets regulatory freedom. The one that changes your rifle's entire future is the one you just heard. Keep your powder dry and your aim true. I am out.